Reviews. I am Rob.
I'm Brendan.
And we just got out of seeing Prometheus, and we saw it in 3D, which is kind of rare. I really don't go see movies in 3D much, too gimmicky.
Neither do I, but luckily we saw it cheap enough, and this is a movie worth checking out in 3D.
Yeah, definitely. It really adds to the story. And of course, Prometheus is Ridley Scott's latest science fiction film, and oddly enough, the last science fiction film he made was Blade Runner. That was like years ago, the early 80s. So
Blade Runner, and before that, Alien.
Mm-hmm. And this movie, to me, the best way I would describe this movie is I think this is a very smart, intelligent sci-fi movie with a few scares, and I really like the look of this movie because, for one thing, Ridley Scott doesn't overdo it on CGI sets like a lot of filmmakers do. All this stuff looks like it was shot on real locations. They were built sets and props, and as a result, I felt more involved with this movie as a result.
Oh yeah, all the effects were felt practical within the scene. I mean, I personally, I got lost totally in the movie. It wasn't like, it doesn't feel like it's the kind of movie that's going to date visually with the effects, but we should probably get into basically what this movie's about, which is the search for why we're here.
Yeah.
These scientists and researchers find cave paintings that indicate that we are created by these other beings on this other planet, and they eventually fly out there on Prometheus, the ship, and try to find our creators. And suffice to say, things go a little awry from there on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's a tough movie because we can't give away any spoilers with this. It's better you go in as cold as possible, read as little about it beforehand, because that's where you get the most out of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Scott put together a very good cast. I really like Michael Fassbender as a character named David. You know, he's definitely, shall we say, a little bit odd and a little bit different from the rest of the characters. And Naomi Rapace is one of the scientists, and I thought she gave a really good performance. She speaks in a British accent, so it was nice to see her try something different. So overall, I think the acting was really good. I think the script was very good. There were a few moments where I kind of felt a little squeamish, but I thought this was a very smart movie with some very good scares in it. And you do ask yourselves questions. You do have to take everything that's given to you and piece it together.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie that kind of throws you into the middle of this adventure, and that's really what you feel like. You feel like you're just along for the ride with these explorers, and it's just sort of like the most interesting exploration you could possibly go on. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't play like a horror movie. It plays more like a science fiction adventure that has these really intense horror elements. Like you said, I mean, there are parts in the movie where you're just screaming and wanting to cover your eyes because, and there's not a lot of it either. It's not gory or bloody or anything like that, but it is rough at certain scenes, and we can't give that stuff away because it's just, if we did, you know what was coming.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you mentioned how you felt involved with the story. I think one of the reasons is Scott shot this movie like a documentary, a nature documentary, where the documentary filmmakers will go on locations and shoot real locations and creatures and all this stuff. That's what it felt to me like. When there's a scene where they're exploring the cave, I felt like I was watching one of those documentaries where they're exploring ancient ruins and ancient caves. So I think shooting it like that helped me feel like I was part of the team in a way.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. The Elizabeth Shaw character, you really feel for her because most of the film is played from her point of view or from David's point of view, the android, and you're never quite sure what anyone's motivations are. The characters that you sort of peg as bad guys in your head as you're watching the movie aren't necessarily as bad as they turn out to be. I mean, it's sort of an interesting movie where you almost expect villains or something to pop up, like Charlize Theron plays this sort of corporate lackey who's sort of in charge of the vessel, and you sort of want her to be the bad guy, but it's not that kind of movie at all. You don't go into this movie expecting one thing or the other, because Prometheus it's quite a few surprises in it. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, another thing that you mentioned that is people aren't black or white. There's shades of gray in everybody. I think that definitely shows up in here. So I think this is definitely a movie to check out. It's rated R, but I think there's a reason for that, obviously. So I like that Scott did not take a risk, because a lot of filmmakers, if a studio says we want this to go from R to PG-13, some directors comply, but Scott was like, no, I want it to be rated R, and I think it's not going to grab really the teen audience because of the 17 thing, but I think it's a really good movie and should be checked out.
It's got some great ideas in it, some basic questions that every person has ever had. Why we're here, what's the purpose, and what's after life, and all the movie's characters go through these exact same questions and frustrations, and this isn't a movie that is going to feed you answers or hold your hand.
No.
Either at all, but I think it's a totally rewarding viewing experience, and I say you gotta see this in theaters. If you enjoy science fiction, Ridley Scott, anything like that, or just good storytelling, go see this movie.
I agree. I don't know whether it's worth seeing in 3D, but I think it helped tell the story because I saw the movie Hugo by Martin Scorsese in 3D, and he doesn't do any gimmicky stuff. He makes the 3D part of the story, and here Scott does do that. So you think it's worth seeing in 3D?
You know what, there are some just great shots on this, some great outer space shots of the ship, some great scenery in here, and I think the 3D really did add to it for me. But I totally forgot I even had 3D glasses on when I walked out of the theater. It was just kind of like the movie's got a big wow factor to it.
Yeah, because I know the person that gave us our ticket says that a lot lately 3D movie screenings haven't been doing very well, but I think perhaps if this is worth paying the extra to see in 3D, go see it in 3D.
Yeah, I think that this movie, it adds to the experience. It's not like stuff is flying out of the screen at you, but he doesn't use it as a gimmick. He merely uses it to enhance the world, which is beautifully designed and so vivid. I think the 3D actually adds to that part of it.
Good. All right, so we both say to go see Prometheus in theaters, so thank you very much for watching, and leave any comments about the movie if you have seen it.